So I'm going through the box. I'm separating these rolls, which I assume have been hunted, but I'll check a few from the bank wrapped rolls and came across two of these rolls. This one is a 2005 Bison uncirculated roll. This one is the 2005 Ocean and View uncirculated roll. I think I'm going to take it out of these more flimsy wrappers very, very carefully. And I think I have tubes. If not, I'll find some sort of other roll to keep these safe. Because, yeah, uncirculated rolls from then are pretty cool. I was worried that these had already been searched. And literally, the first roll, we have a war nickel. That's crazy. 1945, out of Philly. Also in that first roll, we had 6 different 40s and 50s. I haven't even gotten them sorted, in addition to the war nickel. So I think I'm just going to kind of pile them up and then sort them through it then, because if this keeps up, we're going to have, like, a lot. I mean, almost half that roll was 40s and 50s, the second roll. I think we're going to change format. All right, so previously I recorded this vertically because I was going to put it as part of the quarter hunt where I'm trying a new format, but this is too crazy to try a new format. This is all 40s and 50 nickels through 2 rolls. So it's pretty crazy. I haven't found anything too wild other than the one more nickel you guys saw. So stay tuned. Okay, we're 3 rolls through, and I kind of had to do some organization. So these are nickels from the 50s. These are from the 40s. These are from the 60s, which I normally don't keep. But just to show you, there's a few more non-60s and newer nickels than there are just 60s, and then there's way more 40s and 50s than anything else. This is crazy. The next roll, it was about time. This looks like another war nickel, and it is 1954 out of Philly. This is awesome. 2 war nickels. 1944. I was wondering, 54 was not a war year. So, yeah, 2 war nickels. I'm sure more 40s and 50s. This is wild. So, the last crazy roll had 2 1939s. I haven't flipped them yet to check for the date, but or the mint mark. Be sure we'll do that soon, though. But then the next roll was all piece metal, the piece metal nickels, and nothing else in it. So clearly, whoever put these together knew that these were all old nickels, because had all the old nickels in rolls, and also knew that these were different nickels and put those into rolls, but for some reason didn't notice the war nickels. We'll find out later on if they noticed key dates or semi-key dates or not. So this is interesting. After 3 rolls of just piece metals, we are back to the older nickels, as you can kind of see, in 1964, and things such as that, 1947. I mean, this is just kind of how this whole thing goes. So, again, we'll sort it, keep on sorting. I'll bring you in if I have a buffalo or another war. Okay, so I'm maybe halfway through these, and you can see we have 2.5 rolls from the 40s, probably 2.5, 3 rolls from the 50s, a lot of 60s, not much to check in the 60s, at least no key dates or semi-key dates. A stack here from the 30s, all 39s, I think, and there's 2 war nickels. Anyways, I'm going to move on to the bank wrapped rolls and the 3 customer wrap rolls that aren't these type, and then we'll do the rest of these type, to close this out. Okay, so this roll was messed up, but there is a foreign ender here. Poland, maybe? 1990? I saw it because of the rated edge. I have not seen this one before. Also in that roll, we had a dime. Nice. Okay, so after going through all those rolls, the only, real decent things I guess we found was the 1939 out of Philly and a 42 out of Philly. Everything else was pretty common. So again, we'll keep those off to the side and then add them to these finds once we're finished going through all these rolls. We got maybe a dozen rolls left, and it's about time. Another silver war nickel, 1945 out of Philly. I mean, this has been real nice because I haven't been able to get war nickels in a long time. Yep, that one's not going to be one. And it's not even a 60s nickel. Again, I haven't been bringing you guys on everything, let alone every 30s, but we do have our first 1938. I have not flipped it yet. The 39 stack is up to probably a dozen or more, maybe even 15 or 16. So again, we have a lot of things to go through still. We got our fourth full roll with the piece metals. Okay, I know I said I was going to wait till the end to find a key date or a semi-key date check, but I mean, I came across, I think, the first 1950. There's maybe another 1950 in there, but if this is the 1950D, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be very, very happy. It is not. But still, the 50 is a semi-key, I believe. So we'll add that to the pile, and we'll keep going through everything. We got, I don't know, 8 rolls left or something, and, you know, there's 4 or 5 rolls of 40s and 5, probably 6 by the time we're done, rolls of 50s and a whole bunch of 60s, although most of those will just go back. Okay, so here we have the 60s, 61, 62, 63, 64s, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, D and S. I still have to go through the 64s, get those into the D to look for the D over Ds, and I still have to get to the 63s and look for the 63 DDRs. I was checking for the 1964 D over D FS501 to the south, and we ended up getting the D over D RPM 101 D over D to the north. Very clear there. And if we compare it with Variety Vista, that is exactly the thing. We see the double serif on the southwest side, as well as the obvious doubling on the top. The coin itself has a big old scratch on top of the Monticello building, so that's unfortunate, but it is a D over D. Okay, the only find from the 60s, and I can't complain, is that DDR, or repunch mark, sorry, not worth a whole lot. And also this kind of cool one, I think it was just melted, but still kept it off to the side. We're going to move on to the 50s, get them sorted by year, and then once we get them by year, I'll go through mint marks on camera for the semi-key or key date reveals. And then I'll, of course, search for Henning Nichols and DDRs, DDOs, repunch marks, and the like. All right, here are the 50s. Again, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 6, 7, 8, and 9. First one to check for a better date is the 50. Either way, it is a better date. We already flipped it earlier. We saw that it was a Philly. That has less than 10 million minted, so a very good find. All of the 51s are very good dates as well, with the big note that the 51S has less than 10 million minted. So I believe that one's in Denver. I'll get them sorted and bring you guys back. We had 7 Phillies and 2 Denvers. Those Denvers have 20 million minted and the Phillies have 29 million minted. Moving on to the 1952s, again, we want the San Francisco with 21 million minted. Otherwise, it's pretty common. We have like 15 Phillies, 4 Denvers, none of the San Franciscos. Again, same deal with the 53. Again, we want the San Francisco with 19 million minted. So for the 53s, about 10 each of Phillies and Denvers, and also 2 53Ss. So both of those very good finds and good additions. Of course, we'll check those for the Henning Nichols later. Let's move on to the 54s, where, again, we want the San Francisco. About 10 54 Phillies and 20 54 Denvers, but we got 3 54 San Franciscos, as you can see with this one here. So again, we'll keep it up. We'll move on to 55, where of course we want the 55 Philly with less than 10 million minted. For this one, because it's so cool, I'll bring you guys with me because we can quickly see if there is a Philly or not. So far, not looking too good. But, you know, maybe we'll eventually see one. Just move this stack out. That way I don't check the same one twice. Only a couple more left. And the last one, no dice. I went through the 56s and 57s on my own because none of them can be crazy. As you can see, a lot of 57Ds. We'll do the 58s, 59s. Again, we're expecting mostly Denvers here. But if we find Phillies for either of them, that's a better date. The 58s were real good. 5 1958, all out of Philly. And so those will be really nice because there's 17 million of those minted. So that's nice to have. And I can't complain about the 1959s either. 3 more, 27 million minted. So that's really good finds as well. Before we check for errors on these, I'm going to go through the 40s and get those set up into date. And then, of course, do the mint marks like I just did. Here they are organized by date. Again, we'll go through them by mint mark. Nothing too crazy that we really need here, except for a 42D. I really need a 42D non-silver, and that's a low mintage, so hopefully one of these 42s can do it for me. Also, the 46, 47, 48, and 49, kind of down here in San Francisco, are all better dates. Other than that, there's nothing too crazy, so I'll go through the 40s and 41s by myself and bring you guys in when we get to the 42s. I decided to start from 49 and work my way backwards, so we're looking now for the San Francisco because that has less than 10 million minted, so it would be a very nice find. I believe that's a Denver. So yeah, I'll be back here once I have the 49s done. No 49S's, and there's the rest of them. For the 48, we had 3 Ds, which don't really matter, but we did have one 48S, which is a really good date, 11 million minted. No 47S's, and the 46 ended up being our most popular by far, but we did get a 46S, so that's nice. Let's move on to the war nickels that we found. We found 3 of them overall. This one here is going to be a 1944 out of Philly. This one here, a 1945 out of Philly. And this one here, a 1945, I believe again, also out of Philly. Now we're to the 1942s. Again, I really need a Denver. Only 14 million minted, so it's certainly possible, and we found already, of course, like that 50D with less than 10 million minted, so we know that this collection has the possibility of giving me a 42D, but whether or not I find it are 2 different stories here. So far, I was about to say not so good, but there's 1, there's 2. There's 3 I see down there in a little bit. There's the 3rd. And there's 4. So 4 1942Ds. And previous to this, I had 0. So that's very nice. 14 million minted, and I have 4 of them in front of me. That's very cool. Okay, so here they are, PDS 40 all the way to 59. 3 war nickels. Awesome. So here's kind of the deal. At this point, the 50 was a really nice find. The 442s were really good because that fills a spot in my book. And we didn't have the 50D, unfortunately. And so that means I only have 2 spots left to fill other than the 50D in my book. And we have a lot of chances to do so right here. I need the 1939 D and S are those 2 slots remaining. We do have a 1938. I have not flipped it over yet. Of course, the D or S are the better dates. We have a Philly. That's nice. So we'll go through these. I might as well go through all of them because D or S are both better dates and I need both of them. The first one, Philly. Second one, Philly. I'm going to change angle. All right, we got a Philly. I have a feeling this is how most of these are going to go. But if I get one of the 2, I would be very happy. But both of them are very low mintages. So, I'm not expecting it. They're key dates of the series. So, well, I skipped that one, I think. Not gonna do it. I mean, I guess there's a few more chances left. Well, we aren't gonna get any of them. They're all gonna be 39s. And I guess I can still check them for the Henning nickel. So in terms of Jefferson nickels before the war years, prior to this hunt, I had 247. Before the war nickels, Jefferson nickels found coin roll hunting. I found 118 alone on this one box, these few rolls here. So again, I'm going through, I'm adding up all the numbers, getting them into my Excel spreadsheet that I do with every box, and then we'll go back and look at varieties to see if we can find something fun like the 64 repunch mark we found. Likewise, for after the war nickels, the 1940s had 114. Prior to this, we had like 260 something. And again, it's not like I've never hunted boxes before. I've hunted like over 60 boxes before today. So absolutely wild to find, almost 30 boxes worth of finds in one box. From the 50s, we found 214. Which also is a market increase from like 600 something in the past 60 boxes. So overall, pretty wild. Of course, now I'm going to go through, check for errors and all that fun stuff. Don't really expect to see anything, but again, I'll mention it again. I found something in the 60s, so maybe I'll find something in the 40s, 50s. Went through all the 30s and 40s for errors. Didn't find anything too obvious. I did find this one interesting mint mark here. And give me a second. It's a 49D, appears to be a D over D, but I can't find anything that looks similar to it. So for now, I'm just keeping it off to the side. I was running out of coins to check, but under the scope here, we found a D over S mint mark. You can see the S kind of cut through the middle of the D. And based off of everything I can tell, that is actually the FS 101, or 501, sorry. All right, now we have a 1954, I believe, D over D. As we see, that looks very similar to this. So we'll see, again, FS 501. We'll throw it off to the side and, take a look at the end of the video. So overall, one of the craziest boxes ever. Over a dozen nickels from the 30s. Of course, 442Ds, which are 14 million minted, a 46S with 14 million minted, a 48S with 11 million minted, as well as a 1950 with less than 10 million minted, a 51 with 29 million minted, or lots of 51s with 29 million minted, a 51D, or two 51Ds with 20 million minted. We also have a couple 53S's with 19 million minted, a couple 54S's with 29 million minted as well. Then some 58s with 17 million minted, a 59, or a couple 59s with 27 million minted. We had this nice looking 1942. We had a 44P, two 45Ps, that foreign coin, that messed up coin, and multiple errors. We had this 1949D error on the D. I can't figure out what it is yet. This 1955 D FS501 over mint mark D over S centered, as well as the 1964 D RPM 001 D over D to the north, not the FS501, but this one is the FS501. And I forgot the two shrink wrap sealed rolls of 2005s. Again, we have the bison and the ocean in view.